Drink Georgetown Tavern beer. Your new, locally brewed, domestic-style lager. 4.2% alcohol. Cheap, good, local.
All right, time to talk. We transition from baseball. We're going to transition now over to the National Football League and talk NFL draft. We are on the eve of the NFL draft getting underway, and joining us as he does every single week. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry that we were tardy, Rob. I know your time is valuable, and I'm sorry that I've wasted it. It's Rob Staton, SeahawksDraftBlog.com. His weekly appearance is brought to you by Superior Linen Service, family owned and operated since 1926, committed to delivering the highest quality products and services to the greater Puget Sound area. Get your free quote today at suplinen.com or give him a call, 253-383-2636. You can catch all of Rob's work up at SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Video content, his YouTube channel, Rob Staton Football. Follow him on Twitter at Rob Staton. And our NFL draft coverage brought to you by Georgetown Brewery and their brand new Tavern beer. Well, we're almost here. Are you giddy? Will you sleep tonight?
I probably will fall asleep at some point, but it is hard to rest because I think you run through every scenario and you'll see somebody write an article or someone will put a mock draft out, and then it'll provide one thing that makes you think, and you just constantly run through all of the different scenarios until the first round starts now. But I've had today off. I always have Wednesdays off from work. I have tomorrow and Friday and Saturday off and Sunday, so I'm into draft mode now, and just trying to finish off this last mock draft.
Okay, so the mock draft. Okay, so when does the final mock draft come out?
So I have to do it before midnight Central Time.
Okay.
So I it's pretty much written now. I've not published it yet. But I do always like to leave it to the last minute to put the whole thing out because, if somebody reports, like if someone like Adam Schefter just tweets in the next hour, this player's got an injury, he's actually now not going to go in the first round. Why have you published it and sent it off to the Huddle Report? Like, you might as well just wait and give yourself the best chance.
Can you share what you have the Seahawks doing at 18?
Yeah, I mean, at the minute, and look, it's to change, and this is maybe something we could talk about, Puck, is it's going to be Grey Zabel, but, and I know that's a bit of a boring pick, but,
not for me.
At the end of the day, the idea of the mock is to try and guess what's going to happen at this point. Yeah. It's not to just put something interesting so everyone can go, ooh, look. So I think the thing with Zabel is, so Albert Breer's just written like he could go as high as 12 and he could go as late as 18. Todd McShay has said his floor is 18. That worries me a little bit if you want Zabel because, the floor being 18, like that suggests that he might go a bit earlier. And, one or two other people have said the same thing. And I spoke to somebody who is a Dolphins writer and is very well connected. And he suggested a name that they would go for at 13. But then he offered this as a wild card, though. Could be Grey Zabel, and I just wonder, the Dolphins, the Colts, the Cardinals, they're the three that worry me. And I have to say, Puck, as my wife knows nothing about the NFL draft. She cares she has no interest in any of this stuff. But 20 minutes ago, I was in the kitchen talking to her saying, what am I going to do if I put Zabel at 13 in my last mock at the last minute? Like, who am I going to put at 18? And that's hard. It's hard to work out what they're going to do if Zabel isn't there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing with offensive linemen. Everybody could use them. I mean, that's the biggest theme, maybe other than the Eagles. That's the biggest theme about the NFL. It's just all of it. Offensive line play is down across the league. Everyone could use offensive linemen. So is there potential that he's overdrafted? I mean, I don't say overdrafted, but drafted higher because of the need of some other teams. So absolutely, for sure. And so there's got to be a worry for them that he's not there. If he's their guy and that's who they want and have targeted all along at 18, and many people have had him there at 18, then obviously they have a pivot. They know what they're going to do if he's not there. But yeah, I think that there's a great chance of that. And the fact is that it's got to be very nervous as the picks start coming off. And hell, who knows? Maybe there starts to become a run on one certain position, and it always alters the first round of the draft.
Indeed, and I think this is the other thing to remember. When I did the horizontal board, it was interesting. So I've got 8 players who I think are going to be, who would be first round picks any year.
Explain, before you go any further, explain the horizontal board for people who don't know.
Basically what it is you just sort of, you put the players in the table, in the chart on like the Excel spreadsheet, in the place with the round that you'd be prepared to take them.
Yeah.
So if, for example, Travis Hunter is in round 1, and then you'll have all the round 1 players, and then on the second you'll have the round 2 players, and you put all the different players at all the different positions in that range. So you're just separating everybody by position and by round grade. That's all it means. And in this instance, there are only 8 players who would fit into that first round section in my board. And I think that's generally the consensus. It's between about 8 and 12 in this class. And there's about 38 players in that second tier. So what you're going to get is you're going to get a situation where, you could say, well, Zabel shouldn't go 13th overall, and he probably shouldn't. But the grading difference might be so minuscule compared to the player that's going to go 30th overall. Mm-hmm. And if you do need an offensive lineman, you've just got to do it. And that's the thing for Seattle now is, and this is what I keep coming back to, Puck, and this is probably why I think they're going to go offensive line first. When they didn't do anything in free agency, they had to have an idea of, 1, what's going to happen in this first round, and 2, they had to feel confident that they would get a solution. So maybe they've just looked at this all along and thought, we're very happy to take Grey Zabel. We're very happy to take Tyler Booker. We're very happy to take Donovan Jackson. We're very happy to potentially take one of these tackles and kick him into guard, whether it's a Josh Connolly or somebody like that. And therefore, we're pretty relaxed about it. And if Zabel's gone, they might just move to the next defensive lineman. But if the grading is that different, maybe they do pivot to a Emeka Egbuka, a Matt Golden, a Donovan Ezaraku, a Kenneth Grant could be an option for them. Those kind of players, Malachi Starks.
Yeah, there's a lot there for him. I mean, I think we would all like to be a fly on the wall, would we not? Just to see it. Oh. Wouldn't you love for a fan? Wouldn't that be something to be inside there just to see what the board looks like for them, to see who they've got rated, number 1, but then up there who they think is going to be, because their number 1 player on their board is clearly not going to be the guy at 18, but like the number 1 guy that they'd want at 18, and then what's their pivot off of 18, and they could go in a bunch of, different directions. You brought up Emeka Egbuka. I just think that's an intriguing, selection. We've talked a lot about him before. Maybe we talk about him just because of the local connection. I think there's an element to that, but also the element is he's a damn good football player, and not only just a great football player, but my buddy Todd Millis. I've known about Emeka for a long time. I've got a college friend that was high school friends with his mom, and so I've known about him forever. But Todd Millis, who used to work for the Tacoma News Tribune, like a prep sports reporter, now works for Scorebook Live, and did a fantastic piece on him. As good of a football player he is, he's a better person off the field. Like, he is everything you want in like a person, an athlete and everything. He's the total package.
He is, and that is why he will be interesting, I think, to teams like Seattle who place a lot of emphasis on that, because there's been a few things that I've seen this week that have suggested that he's almost got this like legendary status at Ohio State for his character and his leadership and in his just accountability and everything. And there's been people there's this guy he watches every interview that every player does, and he scores them based on the way that they go into the detail. And Emeka Egbuka had a 100% record, and that he says that's never happened before. And then I was speaking to somebody a few weeks ago who said he was the guy. He everything about the leadership and everything like that, but also he would win the 1v1 basketball games at Ohio State. Like, as an athlete, he's really good. You know what you're going to get from him, and maybe it's not the biggest need, but in a draft where you just need somebody who, he's going to be a starter. He's going to be a 10-year player for you, health permitting. He's going to be somebody that you can rely on to be a good pick. They've just lost Tyler Lockett. I think he could be an option. But there is just this, for me, I keep coming back to it, and we've kind of gone full circle. I don't think they would have been as confident to not do anything on the offensive line if they thought, well, we're going to wait till round 3 and round 4 and we'll find a solution here. I think they have to feel that there is a solution coming, and then I think they probably will just go offensive line first, Puck, and then that's when the interesting stuff is going to happen for Seattle. This is when, for me, I'm going to be most interested in, because I don't know if you want to go on to this, but it's been an interesting 48 hours. So Adam Schefter, I think we would both agree, is that he's sort of the premier insider, isn't he? Like he's the reporter that breaks a lot of the stories.
Well, I'm more of a Garofalo guy.
Of course. Sorry.
It's okay. He is one of the best in the business. Absolutely.
Mike is brilliant at what he does. Absolutely. Schefter put this piece out.
Okay.
Goes into all sorts of detail. And then there was no reason to do this, but he just put this one section out about the Seahawks, saying that per his sources, the plan is to trade Sam Howell and then draft somebody and replace Howell with a younger player in this draft class. And you kind of read it and you think, yeah, okay, well, we've kind of thought they might draft someone this year, but whatever. And then it's 2:00 in the morning here in the UK. I'm just about to go to bed. And I stick on this video, and it's Schefter. He's on Pat McAfee's show with one of the other guys, not Pat McAfee himself. And he's running through every single team, Puck, 1 to 32. And they're going, what do you think the Jets are going to do? I think they're going to take a defensive player because the head coach. What are the Raiders going to do? Well, everyone says Genty, but I think it's going to be Membu or it's going to be defensive lineman. And it's all the stuff you'd expect. You know, he's basically saying what everyone's team need was. And he gets to the Seahawks, and I'm thinking, he's just going to say offensive line here, Puck. He's going to say Zabel. He's going to say different offensive lineman, whatever. And he says, do you know, it's been 32 years since they drafted Rick Myra. And that is the last time the Seahawks drafted a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. Let's see if John Schneider changes that this year. And I just sat back and I thought, he's doubled down on this, and he did it with a smile. And I just thought, I watched that video and I thought, he knows something. He knows the Seahawks have got their eye on a quarterback. And it's probably not going to be 18, but 50-52. Are they going to take a quarterback in one of those spots? Or are they going to trade up from 50 to go and get a quarterback either at the very end of the first round or at somewhere between 30 and 40? And I think he's telling us, be ready, this is happening.
Yeah, I don't think, and listen, I think it's appropriate for people, to speculate, when they brought Locke back, this means that they don't like the quarterback class. I don't think it, and I understand how people would feel that way, but I don't think it prevents them from going out and trying to secure a quarterback in this year's draft. And, I just think there's so many smoke screens. There's so many, are we trying to, steer people differently away from how we're feeling? And I think he had a comment, on his flagship station talking about how, there's this knock on this quarterback class, and that's not necessarily true. And so, yeah, I think it's all on the team.
Did you see what he did when that question was asked, by the way?
I did not.
I hope you don't mind me doing this on your show.
It's okay. Yeah.
As that question was being asked, he suddenly had an itch on his index finger and was pointing it in the direction of the host.
What was he doing? Flipping off for answering the question, or just flipping him off just because?
I think he was saying thanks a lot for that.
Yeah.
And someone picked it up and got a screenshot of it and sent it to me. And I thought,
that's
crazy.
Good. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I would be personally shocked if they did it at 18.
Yes,
I would be stunned if they did that, but no. I think the two scenarios that you laid out, either at 50 or 52, or using one of those picks to move up to get somebody earlier. Yeah, I think very well could happen, because if you have your eye on someone that you think you could develop, then why not do it? Because you are not committed to any of these guys. That's the thing, that they've set them up perfectly. They're not committed to Sam Darnold. For 1 year they are. But and here's the thing, if it works out, great. You hit the lottery with it. If you get Sam Darnold that he was in Minnesota, you get that for a couple of years. At the same time, you can bring in a guy and develop him. Gravy. I think that's how everyone should do quarterbacks. Sometimes you bring in a guy and they start right away and they're great. For Plenty of examples. Jaden Daniels is the latest example of that. He's been great. But I think for me, for long-term success for the majority of them, I think it's always wise to maybe sit a year or two and just kind of pick it up and then go. But I agree. I agree with how you lay that out.
I mean, I had so many thoughts on this, but to me, there's so many reasons why it would make sense. And you mentioned the Drew Lock. I mean, if you're going to trade Sam Howell away, what you really don't want to do is have the rookie that you are drafting to develop feel like he's one play away from coming onto the field. So now you've got a backup. And I remember if you actually look back at the Chiefs when they drafted Patrick Mahomes, and he had a redshirt season in his first year. The Chiefs had Alex Smith. And they had a guy called Tyler Bray. I don't know if people remember him, but he was basically like Drew Lock in a way, like this sort of, he'd been in the league for about 4 years, and they had him as the backup. Smith was the quarterback, and then Mahomes was there just sort of as the red shirt. And that scenario would be ideal if you are going to take one of these quarterbacks so that they don't feel like they're close to playing. And then the other thing with it is you try and work out, like, who could it be? Who could be the target? And, I put a lot of thought into this. I stayed up an extra 2 hours after seeing that video yesterday just to think about this puck. And it's good because I didn't have to get up this morning, but it's fine.
Sickness, sir.
I know. It is a sickness, an illness. Oh. It's a madness. but I just wonder whether Jalen Milroe is the target, because for a variety of reasons. The fact that he's come from a military family and he's that kind of, and he plays with that kind of, with that upbringing, I think that's appealing to Mike McDonald. I think that will appeal to them. He is known for having an exceptional character. That will appeal to the coach and to the GM because that's what they're looking for. He is an exceptional athlete. We know that John likes tools and traits and physicality.
He likes everything that he has, that package.
And then you're looking at a player who, what's his best quality apart from the arm? It's the running ability. And Mike McDonald was in Baltimore when they traded up to the end of the first round and went and got Lamar Jackson. Now, the different players, Lamar Jackson for me was a much better passer of a football than Jalen Milroe was coming into the league. And he fell for reasons that Jalen Milroe, they're totally opposite of each other in that regard. But McDonald knows how opponents struggle to game plan against Lamar. He knows about the impact of having a player like that. So you bring him in, potentially, if it was him, and you take a chance. Oh. And then there's one other thing to remember here is when Clint Kubiak came in, everybody was saying, oh, he loved Taysom Hill. He was such a big fan of Taysom Hill's. Well, if you draft Jalen Milroe, he, as a rookie, can be Taysom Hill for you. He can come in for a few plays. He can come in the red zone. He can come in short yardage situations. You can find a way to utilize him as a rookie, even as he develops as a passer. So it's not, if this pick happens, people are going to go crazy on Twitter. They're going to hate everything about it. But there's just one final point I want to make. Ravens that year picked 22nd overall. They traded down 3 spots and they took a tight end called Hayden Hurst. They then traded up from 52, which is what the Seahawks have this year, up to 32 to get Lamar Jackson. Could we see a similar situation where the Seahawks move down a few spots from 18 and take somebody there, then trade up from 50 or 52, just as the Ravens did, and go and get Jalen Milroe?
Hey, that was, he was someone I think we talked about. This was under the previous staff that I thought that they would have their eyes on just because of the connection, right? Because of the connection with Grubb and then DeBoer and all those guys. Like, well, if they're going to run the same similar type of system, would he fit in? And then I was kind of an afterthought once Grubb was fired and they moved in a different direction. Now, I mean, listen, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of his. I like Jalen Milroe. I really do. And is he by far a finished product? No, but none of them are. None of them. Cam Ward's not a finished product. saying they all are going to have warts and they're all going to have deficiencies, and every player in the draft is, especially the quarterbacks. So there's going to be plenty of question marks about Sanders and Tyler and then Shuck and then Jackson Dart, and Milroe falls into that same category as well. So, but I think that how you described the profile of the player, the profile of the quarterback, if you look at the size, the speed, the arm strength, you're right. There is a guy that I think John Schneider likes, and that's kind of fits that profile.
So I have all this information in my head, and it just sort of pours out at a time.
Sure.
So
let it pour out.
There's a couple of other things that I think are really important here with this. It's a good point that you make about the tools, because if you actually look at the top quarterbacks in the NFL, it's not like, hey, here's this conventional pocket passer who went first overall and now he just turned out to be amazing. Look at Trevor Lawrence. It doesn't happen like that. The better quarterbacks in the league, Lamar Jackson, 32nd overall pick, but had tools, was developed, amazing traits. Josh Allen went 7th overall, 8th overall. He wasn't a number 1 overall pick. He had huge warts. He had 2 years where he was like a meme in the NFL, where people were going, he's a joke, get rid of him. And then he turned into the MVP in the last season. Justin Herbert was the 3rd quarterback taken in his draft after Tua Tagovailoa. He's developed him to be a reasonable player. You can run through it. Patrick Mahomes was not in Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 list a month before his draft. He was at the 20s in his final mock draft, the week of the actual draft. Nobody was going, Patrick Mahomes is going to be the greatest potential quarterback we've ever seen in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Like he was, the Chiefs had the foresight to see there was something there, but there was warts. There were things that needed to be worked on. These players who come into the league, Jalen Hurts is another good example of that. You could even say Bo Nix is the most recent example of that. Players who are far from perfect, but they have to get in the right system. They have to have the right guidance, and you have to make the most of their traits. Jalen Milroe might never be a starting NFL quarterback, but he has the physical tools that mean that if he can work out for him, he can be very, very good. One other point, there is a history of quarterbacks going very, very early who have a QBR, that is that data point that ESPN uses, of above 80 in their final season. Jalen Milroe is one of about 4 players who had a QBR above 80 last season. So if people go, well, you can't go early, typically when you have a QBR over 80, you're going early. Most of them go in the first round. So I'm just saying, we may have spent 10 minutes talking about Jalen Milroe, and he might not even get anywhere near Seattle. But he, as I was thinking about that Schefter thing, and I gave it a bit more thought, I just wanted to put whether he could be a Seahawk.
Yeah. It's fascinating stuff. You're probably not going to get a lot of sleep tonight. You got your full mock draft. They'll be coming out later. SeahawksDraftBlog.com. If you want to do a late night studying, some crash course stuff right now, go to SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Also go to Rob's YouTube channel, Rob Staton Football, there for the very latest on everything that he's got up about the draft. Live show tomorrow. What are you doing tomorrow for the? Have you committed to doing that, or what's up?
No. So because I'm just a bit. I'm in two minds. I think at the minute what we're probably going to do is some live reaction when the Seahawks make a pick, and then probably do a live show immediately after the first round, and then the plan is to be live for the entirety of day 2. Ooh. I think that's what we're going to do. The only, are you going to speak to Mike before?
I'm not going to do a live show. I got a baseball game to coach. I'll talk to Mike tomorrow.
Okay. When you speak to Mike, just say from a friend, the one, as someone who is obsessed with the draft and loves the draft,
no tipping.
Please, it's not even Mike. Could he tell Ian Rappaport when the picks are about to be made? We don't need to know, hey, the Falcons are about to take a quarterback. And he was like, what? What? They're going to take Michael Penix? And then they announce it like 10 seconds later. It ruined the best moment of the draft last year. Let us enjoy the draft.
Mike actually last year when he did it with us was sitting inside. And he never tipped it to us, but to me. He was sitting inside the NFL headquarters in LA. The network headquarters, and he was in an area where he'd have to mute his mic every time because they announce the pick before it comes on TV.
Yeah.
So everybody knows it's probably in about like a good couple minutes.
Oh yeah.
that everybody knows. And so he'd look at me and then he would like, I don't know, he had some like hand signals that he would do, but the Penix one, but I couldn't say anything. So I knew the Penix one was coming like a couple minutes before, but yeah, it's wild. It's wild where he was at and the access that he had.
The thing is because the teams, they make the pick.
Yeah.
And then, and then the teams are all told what the pick is. So if you are a journalist who is connected, say, with the Bills, and they hear that the Falcons have done this, it gets to you, and then you get out. And then, I think Albert Breer does it he just tweets the pick as soon as he finds it out, and some others do that.
Yeah,
the joy of the draft is that sort of walk to the podium.
Stay off Twitter.
I never go on it, and it kind of ruins it.
Then stay off social media. You don't got to worry about it. You'll be fine.
I'm not.
You know who ruined it, by the way? You know who ruined it?
Who's that?
The tipping of the picks.
Who was that?
And we love him because he gave us a football team. He gave us the late great Paul Allen.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean,
he was the one who ruined it all. He was the reason why. Like when we used to cover the Seahawks facility, you would see actually the picks up there. Before there was like this direct kind of what I was talking about with Garofolo, there would be this direct feed of how the picks come in. You would see it, but you were embargoed. You couldn't say nothing, cannot say anything. And if you do, you're out. Like they'll kick you out.
Yeah.
But Paul Allen was in there like, boom, their Falcons are taking, Penix. It's like, hey man, you can't. I know you're a billionaire, but you can't do it. So
yeah,
well, kind of ruined
it. I'm going to be sat right behind where I am here, and I'm going to have the remote in my hand. And as soon as Ian Rappaport's face comes on the screen, the mute button's going on because I don't want to know. So I never go on Twitter. Okay. Stay off Twitter. The tipping of the picks thing, like you work so hard for this, you just want that moment of joy. When
I got you. I got you. All right. Enjoy it. And we will catch up next week. And again, SeahawksDraftBlog.com, Rob's YouTube channel, Rob Staton Football. Go check it all out there tomorrow for a live reaction after the picks. And hopefully they make picks there or make a pick there in the first round. And we'll talk next week and we'll either praise it or we'll be critical of it. Okay.
Awesome. See you then.
There he is. Yeah. There he is. Rob Staton.